COVID-19. Chapter 1. Planet of the Viruses. If you've been watching the news, you've probably heard of the novel or new coronavirus which, starting in late 2019, began making people ill in China. International air travel has thereafter allowed it to spread from person to new countries. Ever since then, it has spread to almost every country in the world, affecting nearly 2 million people and causing 100,000 deaths.
Dignitaries and organizations across the world are working towards it restlessly, while you have been busy reading about in social media and news. But before you share any information with your family and friends, it is equally important that you understand what are these viruses and how they grow in our bodies.
Of the many things that can make you sick, by infecting and reproducing inside you, viruses are among the smallest. Hundreds of viruses can fit inside a single bacterial cell. That's how tiny they are. Viruses come in many forms, but all species consists of a small collection of genes, and those genes are enclosed in a protective coating of protein, and sometimes a lipid membrane. All known viruses are parasitic, but many are not parasitic to humans. Instead, some only target plant cells, while others only infect bacteria and so on.
A virus reproduces by getting its genes into a living cell. Different viruses do this in different ways, but once inside, the cell acts as if the viral genes were its own genes. It begins reading them, and starts building copies of the virus instead of performing its normal tasks. Coronaviruses are a huge family of virus species that infect animal cells. Some infect chickens, others infect pigs, some infect humans, but most of them are extremely mild. They simply give you the common cold.
Corona means crown and refers to the unusually large crown-like spikes sticking out of their membranes. These protein spikes are selectively sticky, sort of like Velcro. They don't attach to most objects, but are extremely sticky when they bump into specific molecules found on the outsides of animal cells. Once held firmly in place, the coronavirus waits until swallowed by the cell. It then begins to reproduce at the cell's expense.
Many spillover viruses go extinct after infecting just 1 or 2 people. There are usually dead ends. That being said, if the virus can survive and reproduce just long enough, it can accumulate over multiple generations, and once that happens, bam! A new epidemic is being screamed about on the news.
In the early 2000s, a coronavirus that used to only infect bats appears to have spilled over into civets. There it mutated even further and spilled over into humans. We called it the SARS virus because it causes severe acute respiratory syndrome. It spread internationally from person to person, and several scientists were infected in the lab. By the time the virus was contained, over 8,000 people had been infected, over 700 died. A coronavirus from camels also recently spilled over to humans, causing even more deaths. Coronaviruses are not the only types of animal viruses that can adapt to new hosts. HIV spilled over from chimps, most likely when someone cut themselves while preparing chimp meat for dinner. The swine flu came partly from pigs, but we think it actually evolved through a recombination with a pig virus and a bird virus. The 1918 Spanish flu, the big one that devastated populations all around the world, may have spilled over from chickens. A very similar virus has been found in bats, and another was recently discovered in pangolins. These animals are endangered. They're protected, but they're often used illegally for food, rituals, and alternative medicine in the region where COVID-19 first broke out.
In the next chapter of COVID-19, The Rise of the Planet of Coronaviruses, you will learn how coronaviruses started in China and became a pandemic. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to get updates for the next chapters to come. Till then, goodbye, stay safe and stay home.